come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media Network, the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Network studios, 2 miles away, that way, west, is the locus of evil on the entire left coast. I broadcast behind enemy lines in occupied California every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night. Tonight, Thursday night, is no exception. It is August the 9th, the year of our Lord 2018. And by the way, Kelly's going to be your bartendress. Tonight she pours with the best of them. And the lava lamp is in fact lighted to my left, your right, meaning that you can also, besides listening to us and chatting at Spreaker, on Spreaker, at shrmedia.com, like I hope that you're doing right now. You can also watch us live as we simulcast on the SHR Media YouTube page, on the SHR Media Periscope, and also on Ustream. I figure with my luck and technology, one of those fuckers is going to work. With luck, we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversations, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all. Here at the Saloon, nothing is sacred. The speech is free. But the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, in the Saloon, we have a first. We have a new gentleman that's, well, he's not new to me. I've known this gentleman for quite some time, and basically since 2004. So the first hour, we're going to be talking to Fred WITZELL, and he is a representative and I believe president. We'll find out exactly his nomenclature of the U.S. Gun Owners Association, and I know him as Texas Fred because that is the blog that he operated for quite some time. I started blogging in 2004, and he started blogging, I think, right around 2007, something like that. And any event, he's going to be here tonight. That's going to be the first hour. So I have to be honest. I have no idea where this is going to go. I have never physically seen Texas Fred. And he doesn't blog anymore, but he's on Facebook, he's on social media, and mostly he represents the United States Gun Owners Association. In the second hour, after we get through talking to Fred, I've got a ton of happy stories for you. Good times, yes, but definitely happy stories. Welcome to Simone. She's in chat. Uh-oh. BZ, doesn't look like you're in chat. Looks like maybe you need to log on. Anyway, welcome to Simone in chat. Welcome to Mike in chat. Hey, Whiskey Dale. Welcome to you in chat. Me, because I haven't logged in. I'm in chat. And one viewer who, unlike other people, will not be unmasked. We don't unmask people in the Saloon, nor do we unmask people in under the aegis of SHR Media, the SHR Media Network. Let's see, one moment. There is so much to do these days to get everything ready. Okay, wrong user password? I don't think so. Let's try that again. And I may not be able to chat. Either that or this thing is just really slow. I think it might be slow. But at least I can see you in chat. I see you. Don't think I'm not watching you. And already the laptop is saying high CPU usage detected. You may experience performance issues. What does this thing think I get? It's drugs from Canada or something like that? No. Anyway, we got a lot of happy stories. And I'm also going to tell you a story because these days it's been all about Trump and Russia. And maybe we should start saying something about, Demorats and China. And have I got a ton of stories. And I've got a very interesting website to refer you to when Texas Fred called. Excuse me, I got to get out of that. I've called him Texas Fred for years, obviously. Duh, he lives in Texas. Reminds me of a Dan Butcher, except that he's more interested in firearms and the Second Amendment than Dan is. And as a matter of fact, I think do we have Fred? Except Fred has his speaker on. Fred, you're going to have to take your speaker off, or we're not going to be able to do this.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you're going to have to, if you're on speakerphone, you're going to have to go off the speaker because
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
I'm trying to talk to you.
And I can hear you now, Fred.
Something's not working.
Okay, I can hear you just fine.
Let me try calling you back.
Okay, that's how technology rolls. Sometimes it takes 2 times. We'll see how this works. Now, this has worked before. And the funny thing is that I'm hearing him on my end. I have to say this. Folks, how many times have you gone to an alleged professional radio show and while listening to, I don't know, name one, Rush or Michael Medved or Hugh Hewitt or, I don't know, fill in a name. How many times have you heard the host say something similar to, caller, you have to turn off the speakerphone, and or they have problems with the telephone? So you may think that it's just me that's been blessed with phone issues. No, Dan Butcher has been faced with lots of phone issues. Dave Milner has been faced with phone issues. I just hope that Texas Fred, you may not believe me. I'm going to ask you to believe me. I see already I'm getting stuff in chat. Mike says, fucking technology. Okay, all right. That's a Sackhead Clint response, because you certainly won't see Sackhead's Clint sitting behind the desk here. Except, I will say this. There was one time when we were doing Sackheads, and Sean was gone. Sean was, I don't know, he was away. He was back east somewhere. And I was still relatively new. Now, I knew how to run the board. We had a different board back then. This is early 2017, I believe. And I am still sufficiently new to SHR that I didn't want to tell Clint, and I was already warned by Sackhead Sean, don't let Clint anywhere near the board. And Sackhead Sean was gone. And I thought I was sufficiently new to the network, and Clint is a co-owner of this thing, and I am not. So I thought, okay, Clint says he's going to run the board. All right, so I let Clint run the board. And let's see if Fred tried to call in again. It says he's trying to call you. There we go. Now let's... Okay, how about now?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm still getting some echo.
Wonder what I need to turn off here.
That's a good question. Because, now, are you talking directly...
Better?
No. Okay.
hearing a lot of echo.
Yeah. This is not going to work. I'll tell you what. Okay. Well, that's not going to be listenable. So I'll tell you what, Fred, I'm going to hang up, and then I'm going to... You can either call me or I can call you, and I'm just going to do it right over the telephone. And so while I'm doing that, let's stop this, and let me see, because I don't think I have Fred's current number. And tell you what, Fred, if you happen to be listening to this, I know this is a buzzkill way to start a show, and I apologize. And I always told all my presenters when I was presenting as the range master or presenting as the sergeant at evac, when you're presenting to a bunch of recruits or a bunch of old salty dogs, never apologize for something that happens. But in this case, I have to apologize to you guys. Let me see if I can go on to Facebook. Fred, if you can hear me on Facebook, send me your phone number, and we'll take it from there. Other than that, I may have to do... Okay, let's try it again. Now, I'm calling Fred on Facebook.
It's gonna work.
Well, let's see if me calling you works.
Hello.
Can you hear me? I am calling you now. You cannot hear me.
Hello.
Okay. Damn it, Jim. Okay.
I can't hear a thing.
All right.
Well, damn this technology.
Yeah, I know. I know. And it's
This
so...
is going to be a really good show, and I don't know what happened here.
All right. Well, nothing changed on this end, which is really that's strange for me to say. I don't have Fred's current number, so let me see if I can get a message to him. In the meantime, because after all, this is a doggone radio show, right? I have this, and it's been a while since I've played this. If I can find it. Anyway, let's do one of these, and with luck, in this amount of time, when I come back, oh, hey, here's this. I always enjoy this. This is like being a DJ, and as you're a DJ, you really got to go to the bathroom. So if you're spinning records back in the day, what you would do is find one of the longer songs like Freebird or something like that, and you'd play that, and that would give you time to go ahead and go to the bathroom or do whatever it was that was necessary. And so I hate to equate this to Ronald Reagan, but he's going to give me a little of a break now to figure out what's going on.
Today marks my first State of the Union address to you, a constitutional duty as old as our republic itself. President Washington began this tradition in 1790 after reminding the nation that the destiny of self-government and the preservation of the sacred fire of liberty is finally staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people. For our friends in the press who place a high premium on accuracy, let me say, I did not actually hear George Washington say that. I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience. Although I've been around for a while, I can remember when a hot story broke and the reporters would run in yelling, "Stop the chisels." But I am aware of my age. When I go in for a physical now, they no longer ask me how old I am. They just carbon date me. The story was an American and a Russian arguing about their two countries. And the American said, look, in my country, I can walk into the Oval Office, I can pound the president's desk and say, Mr. President, I don't like the way you're running our country. And the Russian said, I can do that. The American said, you can? He says, yes. I can go into the Kremlin to the General Secretary's office, pound his desk and say, Mr. General Secretary, I don't like the way President Reagan's running his country. Less than one family out of 7 in the Soviet Union owns an automobile. Most of the automobiles are driven by the bureaucrats. The government furnishes them and drivers and so forth. So an order went out one day to the police that anyone caught speeding, anyone, no matter who, gets a ticket.
Okay, let's try this now.
Okay, I'm here.
Let's put on the headphones and everything. Now, do I have you wired in, Texas Fred? Can you hear me?
Testing, check. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello.
Okay, bingo.
It's really me.
Yeah, cool. That's wonderful. All right.
Are we on the air? I mean, I don't want to say anything. It's, you know, out of place or.
No, of course. We never say that here. We never do any poo-poo nasties. Now, I'm going to play a cut. I'm going to play something, and you tell me if you can hear this.
Okay.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Okay, did you hear that?
Happy stories and good times.
Okay, you did, folks. It's only 15 minutes after, and we're ready to go. We are ready to rock and roll. Whew. Okay, by God, technology did not ultimately, screw me up so bad that I couldn't unfuck a situation that turned out initially to be fucked, but things are much better now.
Okay. That's twice you said fuck.
I know. Well, this is a late night show, and I'm not regulated by the FCC. And I put on the I put on the bottom of everything. I put, hey, caution. This is explicit stuff. So it is. All right.
That. I saw that and I thought, well,
there must be a reason for that.
There's got to be a reason for that.
And the answer is, well, yeah, there are. Okay, let's start at the start. I've known Fred. This is Fred WITZELL. And I used to know Fred as Texas Fred when Texas Fred and I had blogs. He is in Texas, as you might suspect, hence the name. And he I started my blog in 2004. You started yours, I think, in 2007, right around there?
2007, I believe it was, yeah.
Okay, and it was called Texas Fred. And
I got on the same format you were on. That's how we met. I was using something free. I think it was Blogger.
Yeah, exactly. My first blog was on Blogspot, so it was like bloviatingzeppelin.blogspot.com. And myself and Fred and a guy named Robert Bush, we were all concerned that one day, Google, who owns Blogger, is going to go sideways on us one of these days. So we kind of ventured out, and Fred and Robert were first. Fred and Robert went to WordPress. And then you guys tried really hard to get me to go over to WordPress, but I had a hard head, and I didn't want to do that. But eventually I migrated over to WordPress, and that's kind of how we met. So maybe in your own words, because you've never been here before, and most of the people here don't know you, tell people a little bit about who you are. Say like where you were born. I think you were born, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, you were born in Louisiana, and then you ended up moving to Texas. So tell people a little bit about where you were born, what you did. I think you went into the military. I think you went into law enforcement. But I'm just glazing over the top of that stuff. Let people know a little bit about who you are, if you would.
Well, I was born a poor black child.
Yes, you were.
Okay, seriously. 1953. I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay, I got that right.
About 8 miles from the Texas line. And I was a baby. And I was 6 months old when we moved to Texas, so I got here as quick as I could.
Good for you.
One of those damn things. Mom and Dad were there in Louisiana. My dad worked for an oil company.
Yeah.
And we stayed in Texas for a long time, and we bounced back and forth between Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, wherever the oil business was sending him, the company he was with. We got transferred a lot. One year I was in 6 different schools. We got transferred a lot. It was worse than military sometimes.
Wow.
And we ended up in Oklahoma City exactly, to be up there for quite a number of years. And then my dad got sick, and Mom and Dad retired. He was disabled. He had a heart attack and heart surgery in 1967, I believe it was. And back then, you didn't just recover from a heart attack. I mean, you were just disabled, and by God bless your heart. So they went back to Louisiana, which was home, and I got out of high school, and I said, screw this. I'm going somewhere else. So I left, and I went back to Texas. And here I am.
Well, working in the oil fields, I mean, that's, you know, being a roughneck and stuff like that, not only do you move around a lot, but that's damn hard work.
Well, he wasn't a roughneck. He was a cable splicer.
Okay.
He was a specialist. And he used to get calls to go all over the damn world. We got an opportunity to transfer to Venezuela one time, and thank God they didn't take that.
Okay.
I'd have made a good Venezuelan.
No.
I shouldn't say that. My next door neighbor's from Venezuela.
Okay.
But, you know.
All right. Well, you can just admit it. He makes a better Venezuelan than you do.
Oh, yeah. And he's not real radical about being a communist. He hadn't tried to burn anything down yet.
Oh, that's always good. That's always popular. Did you do any military service, Fred?
Yeah, I did a little bit, but not 4 years.
Okay. And then after you came out of the military, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering correctly, you did some time in law enforcement, did you not?
Actually, it was more federal type stuff.
Okay. All right.
Intelligence work.
Can you tell us what it was, or would you have to shoot me in the head?
I could tell you, but you know, I'd probably have to. I have told you, but I don't. You know, I know you're getting old and your memory's not nearly what it used to be. And
Thank you.
damn this, you brother. I don't know this. BZ and I have given each other more hell over the last, nearly 12 years now.
Yeah, exactly. Since pretty much since 2007, ad nauseum.
Like you said, I was able to hear some of your earlier broadcasts when I couldn't get through to you when we were getting that tremendous echo. We've been friends for a long time. We've never got to actually meet.
No.
And if that ever happens, God save all of you.
No, that's true. That's true.
But there's things that you know, I have a real hard time calling you BZ because look, I know this man's real name, I know his background, I know where he lives and all that stuff. And he knows mine, and pretty much, you know, and we have to be sort of careful.
Circumspect.
But be that as it may, if BZ and I ever get together, it's going to be hell to pay.
Yeah, there will be. There will be.
For somebody.
Hey, you did some trucking too, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't you do some over-the-road driving for a while?
I retired the first time. I retired because at 40 I had a heart attack, and I had heart surgery, which was the same age it hit my dad, except technology had improved. And 6 weeks after heart surgery, I was on the driving range every day. 8 weeks after heart surgery, I played a full 18 holes. And I used to love to play golf. It really screws up your swing when you got your chest wired together with stainless steel. For those that are golfers, they'll understand that. But I went to work because I did know how to drive a truck because of my background with my dad and his oil field business and what have you.
Okay.
And I went to work with North American Van Lines, hauling electronic shows, and because of what I did in my prior career that remains unmentioned, I had a security clearance out of this world. And I used to haul stuff that, I was on the high security list for North American for a long time, about 10 years. And then I had another heart attack and another heart surgery, and I finally decided it's probably better just go ahead and retire completely.
Yeah, that might have been God giving you a message or something, or words to that effect. When did you?
We were on a trip one time. They deadheaded. My wife used to run with me, and she didn't have a security clearance at all. But normally we'd run her under my clearance, and we were on our way to Langley, Virginia, and that ought to tell you something right there.
Right, that's a clue. Right.
There's that clue. And we were almost to Langley. We were just south of D.C. And my satellite in the truck goes off, call me. Well, back then, everybody had cell phones, but not everywhere had service.
Okay.
So we whip into the truck stop, and I get on the phone. I call our security director. I said, what's up? And he says, you're off the load. I said, you just deadheaded me from Fort Lauderdale, Florida up here. How can I be off the load? Well, Fred, you're not cleared to haul it. My first words to this guy, he's the security director. He's in charge of stuff. Bullshit. Hold on, man. You're cleared, but your wife's not. I said, dude, if she's a Russian spy or something, I'll shoot her. He's like, I'm serious. I said, so am I. And she's standing there looking at me like I married a crazy man. There's your clue.
Yeah, I would wonder about that too. Well, did you get to carry the load?
No, I knew I found out what it was. I didn't know actually what it was, but I found out where we were picking it up there in Langley was that big building that sits back off out there off the road that's got some initials on it.
Right.
And it was going to the base at Pascagoula, Mississippi, to be put on a particular sub, and the only person who could sign for it was the captain. And they had to get another team that both drivers were actually cleared to haul it. I don't know what it was. It was incredibly high security.
Wow.
And I've had to leave her home a couple of times because she didn't have the clearance, and I would make the load. But we had fun. Had a lot of fun.
Heck yeah. That reminds me of airplane. I'm sorry. What's your clearance, Clarence? The other question I have is, I know for a fact that you've been an ardent Second Amendment supporter. Hell, not just the Second, but the First and all the rest of the Bill of Rights. When did you first get interested in firearms?
Well, now there's a story.
Okay,
My
great.
dad was a gunsmith. My dad was a gunsmith, and I was raised with guns.
Okay.
All of my life. I cannot remember a time in my life when we didn't have guns. And I used to bug the crap out of him. I was 5 years old. I said, Daddy, I want to shoot that rifle you got. Well, it was an M1 Garand.
Oh, beautiful.
And he let me shoot it. Thank God he was standing behind me. He caught me in one arm and the rifle in the other. Knocked me on my ass, and I've been in love with shooting ever since. I shot rifles, long range, when I was in my other job that can't be mentioned.
Right.
I shot a lot of long range, and I was fairly good at it. I wasn't Carlos Halfcock, but I was pretty damn good. But I was always a pistol specialist, and one of those things. I love pistols. I love a 1911 45. That's life.
When did you decide? Now, correct me again if I'm wrong. It was you who started the U.S. Gun Owners Association, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, and you, also, if I'm not mistaken, I think you started that while your blog was still in effect.
I did. I had two big groups. I had one that was the Thin Blue Line, if you'll remember, because
right, that's right.
I had about 14,000 members on the Thin Blue Line. I went to log on one morning, and it wasn't there.
What?
We violated Facebook standards.
How long ago was that?
Oh, let's see, 5 or 6 years ago.
So 5 or 6 years ago, Facebook, in its infancy, basically, they eliminated all of the Thin Blue Line and all of your 14,000 members. I
all of a sudden started getting messages. My IM and phone, people that knew me, it just blew up because where in the hell is the group? I don't know. I'm still working on it. They threatened the USGOA a number of times. That's why we have some of the strict rules we do about gun sales and gun parts sales. We don't allow them. We can't.
Okay.
Even though some of our guys, one of my moderators, a damn good friend of mine, lives here locally. He's retired 7th Special Forces, and he's a Class 3 dealer, and he's a retired cop from a city that I won't mention because of his other backgrounds and stuff.
Right.
And we both know that we could make a fortune on Facebook with guns because we've got access and he's got the licenses. But there you go.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Fred, we're going to have to take a break. Folks, we are talking to Fred WITZELL. I know him as Texas Fred. You can call him Texas Fred or Fred, and he'll still answer to you all day long. He created the United States Gun Owners Association. Let's take a break. We're going to come right back and continue to talk to Fred WITZELL of the U.S. Gun Owners Association. Folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny, on shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday, live and direct on the SHR Media Network, shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider
the
thingies. Those
what?
Things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on shrmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you
go. Against tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello. I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires, due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network, to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct from the SHR Media palatial and sumptuous studios, broadcasting behind enemy lines 2 miles from the veritable belly of the beast, the evil Bill Mill, the locus of evil on the entire left damn coast, the capital of Sacramento, the capital of California, Sacramento, where at night after this show, you literally can smell the sulfur and brimstone and the oozing evil just issuing forth from all the cracks in the state capitol. We're talking to Texas Fred, otherwise known as Fred WITZELL. I'm sorry, I keep calling you Texas Fred because that's how I was introduced to you. And Texas Fred started the United States Gun Owners Association, as well as the Thin Blue Line. We determined and heard that Facebook, in all its wonderful munificence, decided to eliminate the Thin Blue Line on Facebook wholesale, and Fred lost 14,000 followers, boom, in the space of 1 second. And you said that was, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah, about 5 years ago.
So it's good to know that Facebook was oppressing people. We can say Facebook oppressing people consistently since at least 2013. Wow, what a plug for that.
I won't call them a bunch of Nazi left-wing bastards, but, you know, you might.
But you could.
I won't do that.
Yeah, you could.
I could, but I'm just not like
I know.
Call them.
You're a nicer guy than that. You're a nicer guy than me. Well, tell me this then. Let me ask this. What did you want to do? What was your goal with the U.S. Gun Owners Association? Just a repository of information?
Basically, get the word out that there are good people with guns.
Okay.
About 99.9% of us, actually. You don't find out that when you hear about these mass shootings and all this bull that happened up there in Chicago over the weekend, and, you know, what was it, 12 or 14 killed and 40 some odd shot, none of them were NRA members. None of them.
No, that's correct. Absolutely correct. Not one.
That's been my big battle. There's a really good friend of mine that he's retired now. We met while he was my insurance agent. He was a State Farm agent here in the Dallas area. He was also our Texas state representative in Austin.
Okay.
He had, and I can send you, in fact, I will send you later, a picture of his concealed handgun license.
Mm-hmm.
His handgun license was number 0000001.
Wow.
Had
Wow.
the first concealed handgun license in Texas. His name's Joe Driver.
Crap.
Joe's listening. Joe's one of the greatest guys in the whole world, but we almost got in a fight. That's how we met. I was all for concealed carry. Joe didn't particularly want to support concealed carry, and I told him what I thought about it, and he told me what he thought about it. And then when he stood up and he was about 2 inches taller than me, and I knew he was carrying a gun, I'm like, I did. You might want to rethink this one. And anyway, Joe and I have become, and his wife, bless her heart, and my wife, they've become their best friends. We've done dinner together, and Joe inspired me because he said, we need strong voices. We need strong voices to get the word out that not all of us are crazy.
True.
He said, you know, there's you and there's me, but, you know, not all of us are crazy.
Right. We're the exception, not the rule. People know that by now anyway.
I've never shot anyone that didn't truly need to be shot, okay?
See, and that's the bottom line, and that's why you are a fount of goodness and well-reasoned common sense. And that's why I love you, my brother. Now, we have disagreed.
Well,
we have disagreed about stuff in the past.
Yeah.
And I know that shocks a lot of people because neither one of us have opinions, or neither one of us are really particularly opinionated. I used to tell Fred all the time, Fred, I wish you'd just come out of your shell and tell people what you really think about stuff. And you've been reticent ever since. You're very reticent.
Instrumental in me being like I am today. So, you know, if anybody has a gripe about this, blame BZ, okay? It's not me.
Right, okay, thank you.
I didn't ever drink or smoke or cuss or womanize or any of that stuff.
Right.
It's all his fault.
Right. Not until 2007 when I sent you on the path to ruination. I'll be the first one to admit that right up front. Let me ask you this question. Because you are in Texas, and Texas is, California says that it's a republic. Texas has the most, I don't know, state pride that I'm aware of in any of the other remaining 58 states, according to Obama. Now, having said that, I'm really curious. You guys have the ability to open carry. Now, I am highly opinionated with regard to open carry and concealed carry. Now, can you tell us what your opinions are about either one, open carry or concealed carry?
Okay, first, I've got to state this. To be able to open carry, you must first have a concealed carry license because they want to do a background check.
Right.
They want to do what rudimentary training they actually do. There's not that much that they actually do. It's very easy to pass the test. But they want to know that you've got enough common sense to know how to load and unload the gun safely and put rounds on target.
Okay.
First. Second, I have carried openly, and when I'm out here, I've got a little piece of land out here. When I'm out mowing, I've got a gun strapped on my belt.
Okay.
Because we have snakes in Texas. Big fucking snakes. And they bite you, and it hurts, and they've got poison.
Yes.
Well, I've got poison too. But I don't carry openly in public. I just won't do it. I want to be the surprise. Look, I'm 64, almost 65 years old. And I want to be the one that's a surprise.
Bingo. 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 I knew that's what you were going to say, but that's my opinion as well. And I know that there are people that are out there that are open. They are hardcore, hard ass, open carry people. And in my opinion, after having spent 41 years in law enforcement, I'm exactly like you. I would much rather be the surprise in the equation than have everyone, basically, in my opinion, you walk around open carry, and it's probably different in Texas. But if you were to walk around open carry in any other state where it happens to be lawful, in my opinion, you're putting a target on your back. Because sooner or later, someone is going to see that and decide that they're going to challenge you. And that's not an easy that's not an easy way to go through life. I would much rather be the person who is prepared, who is concealed, and I only unconceal in the most dire of circumstances, protecting me, my own, or others immediately around me when there is no other alternative, because as you and I and everybody else that's listening right now live, or they're in chat, or they're listening to this in podcast, except leftists, they don't know this because they're too damn stupid. It takes a good guy with a gun to eliminate a bad guy with a gun. Harsh words won't do it. Sarcasm won't do it. Good thoughts won't do it. Purple skies won't do it. And unicorns won't do it.
Good. What was gun-free zones? Nah, they don't work.
Yeah, not very much.
You can't have that gun here, man. This is a gun-free zone. Oh, shit.
Oh, darn. Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to put my bazooka back in my trunk. How sad I can't carry.
And the argument that gets me, and I've lost members on the USGOA because of my attitude about open carry,
yeah,
and about marijuana and marijuana use and responsible gun ownership. I'm sorry, but if people don't like that, they can leave. I don't care. I don't get paid by the numbers.
No, that's true. And having done what I've done, and having you do what you've done, firearms and any kind of drugs, they are not a pleasant mix whatsoever. They're not a logical mix. They're not a cogent mix. None of that stuff. Now, you mentioned members on USGOA. How many members do you have right now?
Just short of 4,000.
Okay. And if someone...
Nearly as much as we had on Thin Blue Line, but I had an explosion with Thin Blue Line. I don't know how that place took off as well as it did, as rapidly as it did. It was very popular. I had law enforcement officers and it was not limited to the United States. It was coast to coast, and if you're a certified law enforcement officer, hell yes, we want to hear your voice.
Right.
And I had officers from all over the world, male, female, undercover, federal, state, local, everything you can imagine. And I had a retired state trooper, buddy of mine, that was one of the admins or moderators, whatever it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
Had one of the Rowlett police officers that was part of it when I was living in Rowlett, Texas at that point. And we had a really good thing going, and as many people as we had, we didn't have any arguments to speak of, simply because, unless it was someone that wanted to just bitch about cops.
Well,
at that time, my son was a cop. His wife was a cop. They were both of their sheriff's department down there where they lived. My wife's brother and sister, her brother was a narcotics sergeant and his wife was a SWAT commander. It was just incredible. My best friend in the entire world was captain over in Shreveport. I've got several incredibly good close friends that are on the page with us, as a matter of fact. I'll make sure you get introduced to them as time goes by.
Okay.
We had a lot of good retired cops and active cops, and everybody stood together. And I had a background in police work. My dad used to do a lot of volunteer work. He was an auxiliary officer with Shreveport for a while.
Okay.
And I've got a real issue with being an auxiliary cop. I mean, I know it's a good thing. I know it's needed. But, you know, the police need support. My God, the police department is the only thing that stands between the good guys and the bad guys. And folks that don't know this, that is where the thin blue line comes from.
Yes, it does.
They may not always all wear blue, but that's the whole thing. They bleed blue. And they stand together.
Things have changed, and I'm not even going to address that because you and I could do an entire 2-hour show on the status of law enforcement these days, and I'm coming out with a couple of posts with regard to that. Because law enforcement has changed even in the short amount of time. I retired after 41 years in law enforcement in 2016, and even in that amount of time, that relatively short amount of time, things in my department have already changed geometrically. And I miss the department, I miss the job, I miss the service terribly. I cannot tell you how I miss doing what I did. And I went from being an important contributing member of society to the very next day I was just another retiree. And for me, for my psyche, for kind of the type A person that I may have been, that was tough for me to deal with. That was very tough for me to deal with. But
a lot of guys that retire from their first law enforcement job, unless they're a gypsy and they bounce around all over Hell's Half Acre.
Yeah, I've known those.
I've got a just incredibly close friend that lives up in Rowlett. He was with the Texas DPS for 29 years when he retired.
Wow, God bless him.
And then he got bored. He went to work for the Rockwall. Rowlett's a funny town. The county line splits Rowlett. Part of it's in Rockwall County, part of it's in Dallas County. He goes to work for the Rockwall County Sheriff's Department.
Ooh,
and now he's an investigator with the Rockwall DA's office simply because he missed the work. He really missed it. Now, he doesn't have it bump knuckles and all. You know, he's getting a little too old for that anyway.
Yeah.
But he does carry a Springfield 40. He got that from me. He carries a Springfield. Bless his heart. He's well equipped.
Let me ask you this with USGOA. If somebody happens to be listening tonight, or they listen later in podcast, or maybe they're in chat, how is it that they go about becoming a member of the U.S. Gun Owners Association? How is that accomplished? Because I know not just anybody can walk into this thing. You are very sure, you're very certain not to let in people that are anti-cop, anti-military. They support the Second Amendment, etc. But if some of the people were here interested in becoming members, how would they do that?
If they look at the USGOA page, which is Facebook.com/ was it USGOA.groups, I believe?
Yeah,
that.
I'm looking at it right now. If you want to write this down, this is the way to do it. It's facebook.com/groups/USGOA. So that's it, facebook.com/groups/USGOA. And so, Fred, what do they do?
Since I built the page, I'm damned if I can tell you what exactly has to be done. I've been on it since day one, but there's supposed to be a button that they can hit to request membership. I never see it because if I'm logged off, I can't see the page. And when I'm logged on, of course, being the senior admin, the head guy in charge, I see everything except what the members see.
Okay. And I probably won't see that button you're talking about because I'm a member. I'm on the site right now. And because
you're a member.
Yeah. And it says this is a closed group. Anybody can find the group. Only members can see who's in it and when they post. And it asks me to leave the group. Do I want to leave the group? So my guess is, folks, if you go to facebook.com/groups/USGOA, there will, in fact, be a button there that says, do you want to join?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I'm not going to see that because I'm already a member. I get that. But
what happens then, it goes into moderation.
Okay.
And one of the admins or one of the moderators will look it over, and we investigate our members quite a bit.
Okay.
You get a lot of wannabes that jump in there that are foreigners. You would not believe how many we get from Asia, the continent of Asia.
Really?
Really?
That's kind of weird. Why would that be, do you think?
Trolls.
Okay. All right.
And we get a lot of girls that come in there. They have two friends. They have no background, and they got pictures with their tatas hanging out.
Right.
Just really covered, and they're looking for boyfriends or dates, or in cop jargon, dates means they're hookers, and they're looking for somebody to have sex with.
Yeah.
Just in case people don't know that, we're inundated. I've got more people in block just about than I do in members right now.
Right, and you don't need to be a member of an investigatory agency when so many people are on social media. You can go so many places on social media, and my guess would be that's where you find all the information as to whether or not you think this person would be a good fit with the USGOA, because that's so damn simple these days.
Well, we basically look at their profile on their page, because we'll see their name and we'll have a link to their page.
Right.
They have to have a picture of themselves. We have 3 questions that they have to answer. Are you an American citizen, and what? Do you live in the United States, and do you support the Second Amendment? I believe is what they are. You didn't have to ask those because you got bypassed on all that because I kind of knew the answers.
Well, yeah, I know the answers too, but good point. Thank you.
And yeah, I mean, there's no question about your loyalty. I would hate to have to shoot you.
I know. I know. I'd hate to have to be shot.
I know. Anyway, we look at their educational background. We look at their employment. If it shows, if they have absolutely nothing showing that we can look at to verify anything, they don't get accepted.
Oh, okay.
There's got to be some background there that we can look at. And you've seen Tex on there.
Yes, I do. Tex is here.
And he's the best damn investigator you've ever seen when it comes time to go and looking around.
By the way,
he's caught I've missed. And Tex is my main man. I'm telling you right now, he's if I knew I was going to die, I'd will a group to him. I'm telling you right now, that's how I feel about Tex.
That's an honor to say something like that. Already in chat, though, I want to tell you, Fred, we've got somebody, Dave, who said he went in there, answered the questions, and he said, yeah, those are the questions specifically. So already you got one applicant coming towards you.
Okay, I haven't checked. Somebody might have already approved it. There's several of us who can approve it. No, nobody's applied.
Okay. Well, anyway, basically, he looked and saw that you're exactly right. Those are, in fact, the questions.
Okay, yeah. Are you a United States citizen living in the USA? Do you support the Second Amendment? And are you 18 years of age or older? That's Mr. Dave Milner. And Mr. Dave Milner, you're there.
Okay, there you go. Just like that, Dave. Texas Fred doesn't lie. Done. So, I got to ask you this. You're a politically active individual, and we got about, 5 more minutes before the end of this segment, the end of this hour. Where did you first find that, or how did you find yourself politically aware? I mean, did something happen and you discovered, you know what, I am a conservative, I'm a right-winger, I am a dyed-in-the-wool conservative? Was there one particular day or incident that occurred where you said, yep, that's what I am and that's what I'm going to be for the rest of my life?
Ronald Reagan.
Thank you. That was, you're going to have to get out of my head, Fred. There's only enough room in this head just for me, not for you. This is just one warning. This is your first warning. 2 people cannot occupy my head at the same place at the same time. That was my
mother and dad. Like I said, I was born in Louisiana. My folks they're gone now. They were very Southern, very strongly Southern.
Okay.
Right there. They were Democrats. They never voted.
Oh, okay.
I can remember my mother and father never voted. My sister was a political science major at LSU Shreveport.
Okay.
She came walking in one day, and I just happened to be at Mom and Dad's house when she did, and she informs them that she had just become a member of the Young Republicans Club. Oh. I thought they were going to both go through the slab of the floor.
I can imagine that.
I'm like, well, I think it's me to go home.
Yeah, you're out of the house.
When Reagan came about, but she never voted. I'm like, what the hell's the point if you're not going to vote? If you don't vote, you can't write.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was very serious about that.
Yep.
I'm very, very funny about that. But that was what did it for me. When Reagan came about, I look at John F. Kennedy and think, if he were here today, he'd be a conservative.
Yes, and he would not be revered. He would be hissed at. He would be called all sorts of dirty names because he isn't. I'm sure he would not be moving over towards Demorat socialism.
No, he would catch more hell than Trump does.
Oh, my God, yes. And you would not have had Camelot. You would have not had all the things that occurred. He was elected in 1962. So he only had basically a year and a half before he was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963. Okay, finally. All right, I know you know the answer to this question, and I'll tell you if you're interested, but do you remember where you were and what you were doing on the day of President Kennedy's assassination?
We were en route from Shreveport back to Oklahoma City, had walked into one of the, if you've ever traveled across Texas back in the old days, there was a string of little restaurants across there called Terry's. Mom loved their hamburgers. So let's stop and get, we walked into Terry's restaurant over here by Canton, Texas, and everybody in there was crying. And for the next 3 days, once we got back to Oklahoma City, of course, that was also the birth of 24-hour news cycle, as you well know.
Right.
And my mother stayed glued to the TV. We were watching live when Jack Ruby got when Oswald got assassinated by Ruby.
I was too.
And I remember, I'll never forget till the day I die, the Dallas detective looked at him and said, "Jack, you son of a bitch." That was always edited out after that. It was heard one time. And it was the detective that was cuffed to Oswald.
Yep.
And I remember I was 10 years old.
Yep.
And I'll never forget it. That was history in the making.
Yes, it was. And I, like you, was watching the television when that happened to occur. I don't remember those exact words, but in retrospect, yeah. I mean, it was as shocking as anyone in the nation could be shocked at that time. We got about 1 minute left before the end of the first hour here. So, friends, we've been talking to Fred WITZELL. He's the creator of the United States Gun Owners Association. And if you're watching, I had this long list of questions for Fred tonight. And we were going to get into politics because Fred, if you think Fred has some opinions, and he does have some opinions, and I was going to tickle his brain to see if maybe he could express some of those opinions, but we just didn't get there to it tonight. But before we hit the break and Texas Fred has to go, I got to ask you this question. Fred, I got to have you back because, dude, we have to talk politics. We have to get into the issues of the day. There's so much crap going on. There's so many things that I wanted to ask you. So would you be interested in coming back sometime, sir?
You name it, I'll be there. I'm retired. Okay? I'm retired. My wife works nights.
Okay. All right.
I'm easy. And we have another request from Mike Pasqua.
Oh, good. Great. Yeah, he's in chat right now.
Yes, and he is just about to be approved, I do believe. He's from Louisiana, so by God, he's got to be good people.
You know he's got to be a good dude then. That's correct.
All right. Yeah, you name it, I'll be there, man.
Okay. Thank you ever so kindly. Folks, we've been talking to Fred WITZELL. He created the United States Gun Owners Association, and we're going to take a break, come right back. And would it shock you or surprise you that I do have some really good, happy stories? I have a couple of audio cuts that I think will make you laugh. And then instead of talking about Trump and Russia, maybe we should start talking about, Democrats and China. You think?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads radio show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com. And maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
S-H-A-T.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yeah. shrmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. Insidious. You know, we talked about this for, a good, for the last 3 years. And finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are in hour number 2 of the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, live and direct right here in the SHR Media Network studios in Sacramento, California, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines, I should say, in occupied California. Because as anybody with a scintilla of common sense knows, California is occupied by leftists. Now, there are certain things in life that you hear once and you think, that is funny as hell. And when I come across it, I want to play it again. Well, I happen to be zipping through YouTube. At the end of every one of my shows, and Sackheads, I post the show, which means that I go to YouTube and a whole bunch of other places, and I assemble basically what happened in the show and post it up at my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. By the way, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, B-Z-E-P. That having been said, I came across this that upon reconsideration is too damn funny and is perfectly indicative of what debased spunkmeisters are the American media maggots these days. Because this piece, which is famous now in its infamosity, I just, see what I did there? I just made up a name. I just made up a word. It's so famous that this had to pass through at least 2 or 3 editors. It had to pass through the floor director, and it ended up in the hands of somebody who's just a news reader and didn't question any of this stuff. And I bet the reason that they didn't question it is because it has to do with minorities, but not in the way that you expect. And yet, some newsreader, some happy face, actually read this on the air. And if this, I have to tell you, if this doesn't fall into the funny as fuck category, frankly, although it's about a terrible incident, the incident itself was terrible. What they did to it by slaughtering this is indicative of how incredibly ridiculous the American media maggots
We have
really
new information now also on the plane crash. KTVU has just learned the names of the 4 pilots who were on board the flight. They are Captain Sum Ting Wong, Wee Tu Lo, Ho Li Fook, and Bang Ding Ao. The NTSB has confirmed these are the names of the pilots on board Flight 214 when it crashed. We are working to determine exactly what roles each of them played during the landing on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I didn't make this up. This actually went over the air in a San Francisco TV station, and none of those people, the likes of which I just regaled with you, none of those people either checked it, looked at it, or they looked at that and they thought, well, these apparently Chinese names don't make any sense to me, but who am I to say that there isn't some Chinese guy named Wee Tu Lo in concert with 3 other guys whose remarkable names are remarkably similar? That's the American media maggots. Now, I again have another cut to play for you indicating the absolute brilliance, the brilliant people that are elected in D.C., in Washington, D.C. And if there were ever an individual who I mean, this is such a classic cut. It's like going back to the 60s and playing classic music on a classic radio station. I can remember the first time that I heard this, and I thought to myself, this can't be true. Until I realized and did a little research on this individual, oh, he meant every word.
This is an island that at its widest level is, 12 miles from shore to shore?
Because the first time I heard this, I thought, this dude is either drunk or high as hell.
And at its smallest level, or smallest location, it's 7 miles.
Now, even though this is a $1 million monster classic, I got to tell you, for the people that are not aware, this happens to be an elected representative named Hank Johnson, who is a Demorat out of Georgia. Take it away, Hank.
Between one shore and the other. Is that correct?
I don't have the exact dimensions, but to your point, sir,
Okay, this poor bastard who has to answer his questions is a naval guy. This is Admiral Robert Willard.
I think Guam is a small island.
Very small island, and about 24 miles, if I recall, long. So 24 miles long, about 7 miles wide at the least widest place on the island, and about 12 miles wide on the widest part of the island. And I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that.
It's 209 square miles. I just happen to know because it says so in the video, but who cares?
Figure with me, sir. I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
Now, if you're this guy, you're an admiral. You spent years climbing up the ranks to be a commodore, to be a captain, and now you're an admiral. You got gold braid all over your arms, and now you're sitting down in front of this fucktard, and how do you answer his questions? You worked your career up to get to this point right now, and how do you answer his questions? How do you answer his questions without laughing in his face? Good luck.
The Guam population, I think, currently about 175,000, and again, with 8,000 Marines and their families, it's an addition of about 25,000 more into the population.
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
Jesus. That's why these are $1 million monster classics. My God, they really are. And like I say, in assembling posts, I came across these, and call me whatever you will, but sometimes, as my mother-in-law used to say before she passed away, she got pancreatic cancer. And about 2 months from the first notification, if you've never seen someone suffering from pancreatic cancer and people tell you they turn orange, by the way, I'm not kidding, they turn orange. Holy moly. But I remember one very distinct thing that she said in my presence one time. I didn't know her very well, but she said, BZ? And I said, yes. And she said, BZ? And I said, yes. She said, you know, sometimes people are put on this planet by God just to be representatives of what it is not to do in life.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Here's a happy story. This was sent to me. This is a hat tip from Whiskey Dale. And the story goes something like this. This is from Fox News. Grandmother shoots cyclist trying to break into her home, police say. A Texas grandmother, oh wait, it happens in Texas. God bless you. Lone Star State, yeah. A Texas grandmother shot a man who was riding a bicycle, masturbating, and trying to break into her Houston home Tuesday. Stop. Okay, besides the vivid mental image that you get out of that, my first fundamental question is, how do you have sufficient dexterity to be able to accomplish all of these things at once? That's beyond me. That's beyond my ability to even reason out in my fetid little head, in my knurled wheelhouse up here. How does somebody accomplish that? Riding a bicycle, masturbating, and trying to break into her Houston home Tuesday while her granddaughter was inside, police said. The woman, who was not identified, was taking out her trash at about 5:15 p.m. when she said the masturbating man followed her to her front door and attempted to break in. Lieutenant Larry Croson told the Houston Chronicle. She told him stay away and not come in the house or she would get a gun and shoot him, Croson said. Well, that's pretty simple. Those are relatively simple words. Don't do that. I don't want you in my house, and if you do, I may shoot you. I don't quite understand what part of that isn't understandable, but when the man persisted, the woman said she got a gun and she fired one shot through the door, hitting the man in the chest, the Chronicle reported. The man tried to flee on his bike, but he only managed to pedal a few feet before collapsing. Paramedics rushed the unidentified man to a local hospital. He was in critical condition, but he is expected to survive, the paper reported. Neighbors told reporters that if they were in the woman's shoes, they would have acted similarly. Protect your family, a neighbor who asked not to be identified told KPRC TV she did what she had to do. The woman's, now this is interesting also, and this is why you don't want to screw with mama bears, okay? The woman's 14-year-old granddaughter was home during the attempted break-in, but didn't see the incident, the Chronicle reported. The man had been, this is shocking, you didn't see this coming. The man had been arrested a week earlier for allegedly walking around the same area while naked, KPRC TV reported. He was not immediately charged. Police said investigators were working to determine whether the woman would face charges. My guess would be she's probably not going to. Here is a little covered story, and I submit, when I tell you about stories like this with these kinds of headlines, yeah, you know why you don't hear much of this. But now I'm going to tell you why it's a happy story. This happens to be from the Washington Times. Archives rejects Democrats' request for Kavanaugh documents. I wonder why that would be. The National Archives has rebuffed Democrats' attempts to force the release of perhaps 3 million pages of documents from Judge Brett Kavanaugh's time in government service, dealing a significant blow to Democrats' attempts to derail his elevation to the Supreme Court. Stop. Number 1, trying to find 3 million documents. Number 2, trying to go through 3 million documents. Number 3, using that as a ploy to say something similar to, we can't do anything to confirm Kavanaugh because we haven't gone through these 3 million documents. A 5-year-old, can see through this ploy. Archivist David Ferrero said he can only respond to requests that come from the chairman of a committee, in this case, Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican who only requested about 1 million pages of documents from Judge Kavanaugh's time in the independent counsel's office in the 1990s and later in the Bush White House counsel's office. That rules out responding to the request by Senator Dianne Feinstein, the top Demorat on the committee, for 3 million pages of additional documents from Judge Kavanaugh's time as staff secretary to President George W. Bush. I'd say that's a happy story. Well, this happens to be another one as well. This relates to things that have been occurring, and if you haven't been kind of keeping up with this, it's going to be an interesting case. I can tell you I do not see clearly where this is going to go, but I'm talking about Paul Manafort and the Paul Manafort trial. The headline is, Manafort's trial judge tears into Mueller's prosecutors. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this was today. Let me see if I can find the date on this. Yesterday, August 8th. Prosecutors from Special Counsel Robert Mueller's office and Judge T.S. Elliott III Ellis, not Elliott, T.S. Ellis III, argued Wednesday over the admission of evidence in the trial of former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. Tension between Judge Ellis and prosecutor Greg Andre has been common throughout the trial, but Wednesday morning's argument was particularly heated. Mr. Andre sought to show jurors charts detailing how money flowed from offshore accounts controlled by Mr. Manafort to his creditors in the United States. The next witness, an FBI accountant, was to testify about the charts. Manafort's attorneys objected, saying the chart merely repeated evidence presented by other witnesses. Excuse me. Oh, now I can see my computer, which is an elder computer. This is a little bit of inside baseball, but I was so prepared tonight. I had so much stuff to do. Customarily, I have on top of this computer, which is an elder unit, about 30 tabs. Tonight is a 43-tab night, so it's a little bit slow. The next witness, an FBI accountant, was to testify about the charts. Manafort's attorneys objected, saying the charts merely repeated evidence presented by other witnesses. Mr. Andre told Judge Ellis that the agent spent a great deal of time putting the charts together. It isn't relevant that she spent her life doing it, the judge shot back. Okay, be careful. Judge Ellis, who had been badgering prosecutors to speed up their case, told Mr. Andre that he needed to focus sharply. As a concession to the shortness of life, we need to get it done, he snapped. That's a good line. I may have to consider using that myself in the future. We have been focused sharply for a long time, Mr. Andre said, visibly frustrated. Manafort attorney Richard Westling said he would write a stipulation for the juries regarding one of the charts. Mr. Andre became more flustered, telling Judge Ellis he was at a loss as to why the defense would offer a stipulation now. He said Mr. Manafort's attorneys have had the chart for about a month. Judge Ellis ultimately allowed Mr. Andre to question the agent, but cautioned that he would hear any objections from the bench. Neither side is going to profit, Judge Ellis said, over the decision to hear objections from the bench. He then urged Mr. Andre to proceed quickly with the agent. Judges should be patient, Judge Ellis said. They made a mistake when they confirmed me. This has been, if you have not been witness or listening to it, this has been a little bit of a contentious trial. By the way, this is the judge who originally told the attorneys from Robert Mueller's special counsel that, look, I see through your ploy. You're using Paul Manafort to get to Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. Facts and evidence, very true. But this is one of the few times that I've ever heard a federal judge say such strong and true things to a federal prosecutor. Earlier this week, Judge Ellis suggested Mr. Andre was crying during a bench conference when Mr. Andre said he wasn't. Judge Ellis told him his eyes were watery. That's a happy story. Sometimes I just really enjoy, it's like Schadenfreude. People ask me, okay, why do you say Schadenfreude so much, BZ? It's a German term. And basically what it means is something similar to this. You're on the banks of a river and you're watching the bodies of your enemy float calmly, serenely, and languidly by. That's Schadenfreude. Just thought I'd tell you. Here's an audio cut from CNN. And when I came across this, I just knew that at least a portion of this, folks, you had to hear. Because as we all know, AOC, who is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is the new anointed one, bing, wait a minute, what am I doing sound effects for when I have my very own sound effect? Who is the anointed one? Thank you. With the new Demorats, she's a Demorat socialist, huzzah, huzzah, because we all know socialism has acquired so much reverence and faith all across the planet, Venezuela, and with people who employ socialism, Maduro, that we need the Demorat Party who is leaning left. We need the Demorat Party to lean even harder left. If we can, if that's even possible, I'm not really sure that it's possible. In any event, okay, now we're having computer problems. The computer is not going to play this one for me. That's okay. Guess what? I have a lot more. Now, remember we talked to Texas Fred WITZELL, that even 5 years ago, Facebook entirely eliminated his page at the time, The Thin Blue Line, which literally had thousands of members, and it was wiped clean overnight. I found this article, which is enlightening, because you're seeing, it's like the laws of physics. For every action, there's probably going to be an equal and opposite reaction. Facebook is trying to change itself, and it's trying to align itself with the thinking of Demorat socialism. So anything that may even lean to a conservative side and even a libertarian side, many of those sites on Facebook are being eliminated wholesale. Now, we know that last week, Facebook had kind of a bummer week. And Mark Zuckerberg himself lost $16 billion of value himself. Not just Facebook. Facebook lost more. I think it was roughly $30 billion or something like that. But personally, he took kind of a big hit. And he decides, just like AOC, that he's going to double down on being a massive billionaire leftist, and his company, Facebook, is going to double down on being the oppressor of note, one of many oppressors of note. Here's an article from BGR.com. Don't quite know what that sounds for or what that stands for, but in the course of trying to find great articles for the show, I found this one at BGR.com. The headline is, Facebook is apparently not just shedding dollars. Facebook is shedding massive traffic. And it's apparently flocking to YouTube. 4 billion. That, according to a new study shared with CNBC by market research firm SimilarWeb, is how many monthly page visits Facebook has shed in a slow drip, but nevertheless huge decline over the past 2 years. 4 billion loss of page visits. Facebook's traffic hasn't just fallen by about half since 2016, according to the study. Among the consequences of such a precipitous drop is the opening it's given to YouTube, which the study's data shows is about to overtake Facebook to become the second biggest site traffic-wise in the U.S., which would give Google ownership of the top 2 spots, pushing Facebook down to number 3. That's a serious status loss in the eyes of Zucky. CNBC describes the drop at Facebook as, quote, severe, and goes on to round out the list. It's this way. The 5 websites receiving the most traffic in the U.S. in the last several years have been Google, Facebook, YouTube, Yahoo, and Amazon, in that order. However, Facebook has seen a severe decline in monthly page visits from 8.5 billion to 4.7 billion in the last 2 years, according to the study. Although Facebook's app traffic has grown, it's not enough to make up for that loss, the study said. Google trouncing Facebook, by the way, that's kind of a bit ironic, don't you think? Considering that it was, if I'm remembering correctly, and of course I may not, I am old and addled, and you can see what I look like, so therefore I am clearly old and addled. Wasn't it Google's attempt, really, at sort of a feed-based social network thing? I think that was Google Plus, that ended up falling absolutely flat. And it turned out Google already owned a social winner, and that's YouTube. And now people are blasting away from Facebook and merging into YouTube. The story continues. It's also one more suggestion that maybe finally we're hitting, and that would be an excellent question, are we hitting what they call peak social? Snapchat's parent, of course, reported earnings this week and acknowledged a drop in daily active users for the second quarter compared to the year-ago period. Facebook and Twitter also posted declines during their most recent earnings presentations. Facebook losing such a large amount of traffic over the past few years is part of a broad realignment in the social media landscape that's only going to continue, likely with some surprising outcomes. It's also apparently creating buying opportunities as well. And we all know that essentially nature abhors a vacuum. I've got another story when we come back, and then we're going to talk about not Trump and Russia and the Republicans, GOP. No, we're going to talk about China and the Demorats. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider
what?
thingies.
The
Those
what?
things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on shrmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you
go. Against tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is the final 25 minutes of the show. In the first hour, we heard Fred WITZELL of the United States Gun Owners Association. And I'm telling you right now, we are going to have Fred back. We didn't even get to touch a lot of the stuff that I wanted to go over, which was politics, because, all right, maybe Fred does have an opinion. It's generally not a strong opinion. He usually moderates it pretty well, but he does have some good observational skills, and for that reason solely, not because he's very strongly opinionated, but I'm going to bring him back because Fred is just a damn good guy to talk to. I told you we're going to talk about, speaking of speaking, see what I did there, the issue about Russia and Trump, Russia, blah, 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 Rentun. There was an issue with Dianne Feinstein and China and a spy who happened to be in her midst. Because what occurred recently, and I'm going to make at the end of this, I'm going to make what I consider to be a very salient comparison that I will illustrate to you, and I'll ask you, what's the difference between these two situations? One thing is not like the other. Basically what occurred is the FBI revealed that for 10-plus years, some say up to 20 years, depending on which story you read, Senator Dianne Feinstein had a Chinese spy as a limo driver. And isn't that kind of a delicious headline, really, when you think about it? It's as I said, it's like a dash of schadenfreude. So just as the Demorats have been screaming Russia, 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 now everybody needs to be screaming China, China, China to the Demorats. Who needs Russian hacking, okay, when you have Chinese inserts and stupid Demorats? This is a headline from Fox News. Feinstein was mortified by FBI allegations that a staffer was a spy for China. U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein fired a staffer a few years ago who was allegedly part of an effort to spy and pass on political intelligence to the Chinese government. The staffer, based in the Demorats, San Francisco office, was suspected of delivering political intelligence, though nothing top secret, if you believe that. I've got, the proverbial bridge, to officials based on the local Chinese consulate, Politico reported. The FBI informed Feinstein, who, you'll love this. This is delicious. She happened to be, and I'm telling you, this is just a coinky-dink. There's nothing purposeful behind this. I mean, it just happened to be this way. She happened to be, chairwoman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and about 5 years ago about the staffer and allegations that the staffer was a spy. The source who confirmed the incident to the San Francisco Chronicle said, of course, Dianne was mortified about learning of it. Of course, we all know, and this is true, you just have to assume it, we know that nothing classified was overheard from the front seat of her limo in those years, and I'm absolutely certain that Democrat Senator Dianne Feinstein, she held top intelligence information in equally high regard and equal reverence as her good friend and buddy Hillary Rodham Clinton. But maybe we need to ask ourselves a fundamental question. Could it be possibly, remotely possible, that the Chinese determined to insert an agent directly into Feinstein's vehicle because she was the chair of the Senate Committee on Intelligence? By the way, that happens to be a committee on which she sits to this day. I'm on the other hand, I really am not seeing any linkage there. Are you? The suspected spy served as the lawmaker's driver in California. Oh, but wait, there's more. But took on other roles as well, including helping out in her San Francisco office and being Feinstein's liaison to the Asian American community. And as you would expect in San Francisco, it's a pretty big community. He attended Chinese consulate events on behalf of the senator. Now, this part of the article, this is chortle-worthy. A former official said that the spy's handler probably got an award back in China for his efforts to penetrate Feinstein's office and pass on various bits of intelligence. Politico continued. Political espionage happens here, too. China, for example, is certainly out to steal U.S. technology secrets, noted former intelligence officials, but is also heavily invested in traditional political intelligence gathering, influence, and perception management operations in California. Stop. Now, why do you think the Chinese might want to focus in California? I'll give you a minute or two. Would it have anything to do with Silicon Valley and all the massive amount of technology that resides there? Well, if you were thinking that, kudos to you, especially at this late time of night. For example, it's 39 minutes after midnight on the right coast, and on the left coast, it's 9:39. So good for you. Good for you. Let's see. This is interesting. A spokesman for Feinstein said the office doesn't comment on personnel matters or investigations, but noted that no Feinstein staffer in California has ever had a security clearance. Well, everybody knows that in order to steal security secrets, you need a security clearance. Yeah, that's how lame that statement is. Why would they ever need one? They can get all they can hear, copy, or steal from the one-time chair of the entire Senate Committee on Intelligence herself. But wait, there's more. KPIX in San Francisco is indicating the Chinese spy was insinuated into her life for 10 years. Oh, no. Now KPIX is saying, it was 20 years. New details emerged Wednesday about how a mole in the government of Communist China managed to stay by Senator Dianne Feinstein's side for nearly 20 years. On Wednesday, the San Francisco Chronicle uncovered additional details in a column written by reporters Phil Mattier and Andy Ross. The column revealed the Chinese spy was Feinstein's driver, who also served as a gopher in her Bay Area office and was a liaison to the Asian American community. He even attended Chinese consulate functions for the senator. Okay, and then there was this observation. Former FBI agent and KPIX-5 security analyst Jeff Harp said he wasn't surprised. This is his quote. Think about Dianne Feinstein and what she has access to, he said. 1, she had access to the Chinese community here in San Francisco. Great amount of political influence. 2, correct me if I'm wrong, Dianne Feinstein still has very close ties to the intelligence committees there in Washington, D.C. However, after all we know about the FBI and its former and current directors, can we really assume that we're getting the full story out of this? I submit to you, of course not. And I'm surprised even that amount of information escaped. Now, there's another observation from thegatewaypundit.com. Would it surprise you or shock you to know that Dianne Feinstein was warned about Chinese bribes and infiltration way back in the 1990s when she hired her Chinese driver spy? Hold that thought. We're going to get to some of the motivations for that. And do you think maybe they had anything to do with politics or power or money? In some fashion, maybe linked to Dianne Feinstein? You, Bucky, you just hold that thought. The San Francisco Chronicle claims none of her staff ever knew what was going on and just kept the story quiet. Feinstein reportedly found out that her staffer was a Chinese spy in 2013 when she was chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. That's right, the chairman of the Senate Intel Committee had a Chinese spy working for her for 20 years, and she supposedly didn't know. Another strange coincidence. Feinstein's third husband, whom she married in 1980, Richard Blum, is deeply and personally connected to China as a prominent investor. Now, isn't that an odd bit of connective tissue right there? Now, since 1995, Feinstein has made 3 visits to confer with senior government officials in Beijing. Well, let's do BZ's reversal theory. What if that was Trump meeting with high Russian officials in Moscow? Amazing. Blum, her husband, has accompanied her each time at his own expense and has attended many of the meetings with President Jiang Zemin and other top Chinese leaders, an unusual degree of access for a private businessman. That's ponderable. On their trip to China in January of last year, Blum accompanied Feinstein to dinner with Zhang in the exclusive leaders' enclave, Zhonghai. Good luck with pronouncing those names, BZ. Thank you very much. Then this. The Chinese spy mysteriously appeared on the scene in 1993, just 1 year after Feinstein was elected to the Senate in 1992. Coincidence? Well, you know what BZ thinks about coincidence. And, of course, there's this. On Capitol Hill, Senator Dianne Feinstein has emerged as one of the staunchest proponents of closer U.S. relations with China, fighting for permanent, most favored nation trading status for Beijing. And you're gobsmacked because of that as well. At the same time, far from the spotlight, Feinstein's husband, Richard C. Blum, has expanded his private business interests in China to the point that his firm is now a prominent investor inside the communist nation. For years, Feinstein and Blum have insisted that they maintained a solid firewall between her role as an influential foreign policy player and his career as a private investor overseas. The Clintons insist that the Clinton Foundation has no links to anybody trying to make any influence whatsoever. I believe Dianne Feinstein just in the same assured fact and means that I believe all the Clintons as well. Richard Blum's investments in China ballooned after his wife, Dianne Feinstein, a Demorat, was elected to the Senate in 1992. Don't look here for coincidences. They just don't happen. Feinstein hired a Chinese spy in 1993 only to see her husband's businesses flourish. Coinky-dink? Yeah. And then here's a tweet that I found kind of interesting. This is from a guy named Sean Davis. Dianne Feinstein's taxpayer-funded driver for 20 years was a Chinese spy. No wonder the Fusion GPS witch hunt against Republicans is being funded and directed by Feinstein's top former Senate Intelligence Committee staffer. Gotta deflect the blame somehow on that one. So let's break this down in a fashion that I think even the most addled, brain-addled leftists amongst us could do, with a few questions, okay? So, taxpayer money paid this Chinese mole or spy, yours and mine. First question, did he get a pension? How would we know? Wouldn't it behoove the Demorats to keep such a cock-up quiet? Of course it would. What a great job. Steal secrets, spy on the Guaylo, and then take a cushy retirement. You haven't heard that he didn't, so let's break this down as well. The suspected spy served as the lawmaker's driver in California, but took on other roles as well, including helping out in her San Francisco office and being her liaison to the Asian American community. He was a driver, and apparently much more. So let's be serious just for a second. After her husband's close associations with China and her comfort factor in dealing with same, wouldn't it kind of be logical that the amount of time spent with Feinstein day after day, week after week, year after year, you know, a bit of a confidant to her because she's somebody she sees every day? Do you think maybe in a period of time that she might have let her guard down a little bit? And the answer is, of course, now I found a picture of this same guy, whose name I'm going to tell you, even though some of the other people are not going to tell you. There's an Asian community for mass action. There's a photograph that I found of it. And the guy who was involved is named Russell Lowe. And he's helping people in this photograph that I'm looking at. He's helping Chinese people to vote, to register to vote in the 1970s in Lincoln Square. And in this article, it said, today, Lowe is a San Francisco-based assistant to U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein. So it turns out that when you kind of get a little bit more of the story, no, he wasn't just her office manager and, a boy well-heeled. He was her office manager as well. Now are you starting to see a few things come through here?
For you tonight, the Daily Caller is now reporting the identity of Feinstein's so-called Chinese driver It turns out he was quite a bit more than a driver.
Yeah, imagine
Joining us tonight, Daily Caller's investigative reporter, Luke Rosiak. Luke, great to have you with us. And this is remarkable. The identity first of the spy who worked, quote unquote, as Feinstein put it, as a driver for 20 years.
This is a guy named Russell Lowe, L-E-W-E. He's a Chinese American who was her office manager for 20 years, so he's not a low-level guy.
Did you say office manager?
He was office manager in San Francisco, so he was higher up. He was meeting with...
Yeah, he started off as a driver and then became office manager. Now, as office manager, in terms of convenience, reference Hillary Rodham Clinton, she did things because of convenience. I wonder if convenience played any factor whatsoever in Dianne Feinstein's possible letting intelligence lay around or asking him to do a sort of an expedient favor for her, or maybe carry these papers from point A to point B. It would really help me out, Russell, right?
Ambassadors, he was, attending high-profile events. He was not a gopher. He was not just a mere driver, as Feinstein characterized him.
Well, perhaps she mischaracterized or misremembered.
Yeah.
That's quite a different matter.
Yeah.
And as office manager, he would have access to all sorts of information, as well as the comings and goings of Dianne Feinstein, who served as the chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence for years and years.
Yeah, and as a driver, because that was part of his capacity, presumably, he was in a position to overhear pretty much more than anything.
Right.
And as you heard in Donald Trump's kind of clip...
Stop. What do you think Secret Service drivers of various political persons hear from the front seat going on in the back seat? I think you can do the math on that one, too.
She basically shrugged about this when it came out. When the FBI told her that this guy was working with the Chinese government, she didn't tell anyone.
Like I say, work with me on this one. This is kind of long. Work with me. I'm going somewhere with this.
She didn't even tell her own staff. She just let him retire. So when you look at that tweet, she says, oh, well, the Chinese were approaching my guy, but I made sure he didn't work here anymore.
Right.
They weren't approaching him. They were working with him. And she let...
By the way, did you hear that guy say she allowed him to retire? So another great expenditure of your hard-earned taxpayer dollars. It's a funded taxpayer. It's a taxpayer-funded spy. Woohoo!
She phrases that carefully because she didn't even fire this guy. This guy retired with a pension. He is now working at what appears to me to be a propaganda outfit in San Francisco, pushing dirt on Japan. So this isn't a guy that was merely recruited by China. He's a sort of a player in these geopolitical warfare battles, sort of this militant Chinese guy who's professionally involved in this kind of thing. And he's out there actually continuing to make speeches where he is billed as a former aide to Dianne Feinstein. And that's what happens when you cover up things like that.
Right, so he's got street cred. But wait, even better yet, he's got spy street cred.
The people get to go ride your coattails and continue to associate with you. He's not disgraced. He's still out there actually meeting. He met with a Congressman, Mike Honda, recently. He's still associating with these Washington types. He's still part of the political scene because Dianne Feinstein did not take swift action.
Why not?
And his name again?
Russell Lowe, L-O-W-E.
It's amazing. Chinese American, still in San Francisco.
Right.
And without belaboring the point, where in the world are our intelligence agencies? They are the ones who informed Feinstein of his that he had handlers, not just simply people with whom he had little conversations. Had handlers from the Chinese government driving his efforts.
Right, and when you witness a cover-up like this, who knows what you can believe, but the limited information that we've heard is that they said, okay, he stole political information, but not national intelligence, so we're not going to prosecute.
Right, because he was very scrupulous about that. He separated his spy piles into two things. This is spy shit that I'm not going to look at. It's really tempting, but I'm not going to look at this pile. But I will look at this pile over here, because he had scruples. He had principles.
Which, by the way, of course you can prosecute. The FBI finds ways of prosecuting people when they want to. For one thing.
Really? I wasn't aware of that.
You could presumably charge him with the Foreign Agent Registration Act, just like Manafort. But what the sense that I get is that Feinstein.
See where I'm going?
Told them, hey, there's no need to prosecute this. Let's just make it go away quietly. Right. And the FBI was happy to do her bidding.
Right.
Well, it's almost presages the Comey struggles between gross negligence in the investigation of Hillary Clinton and landing on, instead of gross negligence, extreme carelessness, which did not mandate prosecution. He said. It turns out that that's a false, if you will, choice and not true at all. Look, let's go to Feinstein's tweet responding to the president, calling her out. This is Feinstein's response to the Trump.
And if this isn't arrogant and cavalier, I don't know what is. Considering the level of seriosity, another new name, another new word, the level of seriosity involved.
The FBI told me, she acknowledges, told me 5 years ago it had concerns that China was seeking to recruit an administrative member of my California staff despite no access to sensitive information.
Right, and I believe that just like I believe all the lying bastards in the Demorat party too, don't you?
I took those concerns seriously, learned the facts, and made sure the employee left my office immediately.
Right, so it was his job, it was this guy Russell Lowe's job, to acquire her trust, which he did by dint of sheer service in terms of time itself. So tell me and assure me that he was never let alone with even one scintilla of classified information as her briefcase lay open on a desk one day, or a series of days, or a couple of months, or a couple of years. You know, as a computer screen lay open, as papers were left exposed, as he walked by, as she was, in the bathroom, as she was in another room, when she left the vehicle for an hour to make a speech or longer with a tablet or a phone or a briefcase left behind on her seat in the car with perhaps even her cell phone left behind. I think you kind of see where I'm going with this. So go ahead. Assure me. Convince me that it never happened or the opportunities never existed. Well, what I just said confirmed. Harp, this FBI guy, pointed out politicians with access to classified information are generally trained on what not to say and when not to say it. But he also noted that when you have a driver behind the wheel day in and day out for 20 years, there are more opportunities to slip up. Now, this is from thefederalist.com. This is where we begin to dovetail all this shit together. Dianne Feinstein's ties to China go way deeper than an alleged office spy. Senator Dianne Feinstein's warm relationship with and advocacy for Communist China go back decades and involve millions, if not billions, of dollars. As media intelligence agency and political scrutiny of foreign meddling is seemingly at its apex, a story with a big national security implication involving a high-ranking senator with access to America's most sensitive intelligence information has been hiding in plain sight. The story involves China and the senior U.S. senator from California. It was buried 8 paragraphs into a recent political expose on foreign efforts to infiltrate Silicon Valley as a passing example of political espionage. Did the senator expose herself to political blackmail or the public to danger through leakage of sensitive, highly classified information? Is firing, and apparently he wasn't just fired, he was allowed to retire. Is it really the proper punishment for providing political intelligence to a foreign power? Excellent questions that need to be asked and answered. So were they? Now, go back in the Wayback Machine just a little bit to, I think it was May of 1993. Dianne Feinstein, oh, I like that, Dianne Feinstein, expressed her strong support on the Senate floor for continued trading with China. Contemporaneously, her husband was seeking to raise up to $150 million from investors, including himself, for a variety of Chinese enterprises. In August of 1993, Feinstein, okay, I'm just going to have to call her that, Feinstein, Feinstein and her husband visited Beijing for extensive meetings with Chinese leaders at President Zhang's invitation. As the Los Angeles Times reported in a 1994 expose on Feinstein's husband, business ties, Richard Blum, and the potential conflict of interests they presented, quote, such encounters are fondly remembered when deals are clinched back in China, according to American experts in Chinese business practices. They said Feinstein's consistent support for China interests cannot help but benefit her husband's efforts to earn profits there. The historical record suggests these American experts were right. Blum successfully, listen to this, Blum successfully raised $160 million for the aforementioned Asia Fund under his Newbridge Capital Investment Company, including investing $1 to $2 million himself. The fund invested in several state-owned and Chinese government-linked businesses. Now, in that story that I consulted, you ought to read the whole story. But, you know, you get my point. So I transition to this. BZ, I'm going to go a little late. There will be a little overtime tonight because I want to finish this story. I transition to this, which is, you've heard this before, BZ's reversal axiom. Now, if we found out in 2023 that a guy on Devin Nunes' staff in California was a Russian spy, but they kept it quiet for 5 years after Nunes forced the guy to retire, who would buy that it was okay because all the guy ever had access to was just, hey, local political California information? Okay, so take your pick. This is the point I'm leading to. Russia or China, okay? Both are threats to the U.S. I would submit, however, and a lot of people disagree with me, but I would submit that the most credible and immediately existential threat to the United States right now, today, is China, more so than Russia. Not to minimize Russia, but China is worse. So there is, as of yet, no proven collusion, okay, between Trump and Russia, but there is certainly credible linkage between Feinstein and China and a spy. So here's my final thought. The FBI decided to do this is what happened. I'm pulling through all the bullshit and translating it all for you. The FBI decided to do Senator Feinstein. They were going to do her a solid, okay, by notifying her and her staff of the potential threat from within due to this individual. They told her something similar to, you know what, we think you have a Chinese spy problem. So this is exactly what the FBI did not do for the Donald Trump campaign. They could have taken his staff aside and then candidate or nominee Donald Trump aside, and they said something similar to, just thought you ought to know, we think you have something of a Russian problem, just like they did with Dianne Feinstein. But no, they didn't do that. They chose not to do that. That was an active decision. Now, what do you think the difference between those two people is?
Monsieur has unlocked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, B-Z-E-P, my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. My intro music is by Possessed Tranquility at ReverbNation.com. Promotional considerations are, as per normal, by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and also by the Boeing Company, if it ain't Boeing, I ain't going, and by Pratt & Whitney Engines, Thrust, you can trust. Also, very serious thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I will be consorting in less, trust me, make bank on this. I will be consorting with them in less than an hour. So tonight, thank you ever so kindly to Texas Fred, Fred WITZELL of the United States Gun Owners Association. Thanks to you, listening live, being in chat, also in the podcast. Thank you for that. God bless. Have a great weekend. Take care. You be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob. What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing? Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.